You know, it's funny. Like, we're all about those shortcuts in life, right?
Yeah.
But then when it comes to computers, we're stuck clicking through like a million menus.
Hmm.
Like, what if we could just, I don't know, talk to our computers directly, get stuff done, like, way faster?
You mean be more efficient?
Exactly. And that's where I think Linux commands come in.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking at today.
Yeah, so we've got this resource that covers basically essential Linux commands.
Okay.
It's kind of perfect whether you're, just starting out with Linux or maybe you just need a little refresher.
A little brush up.
Exactly. And we're going to keep it practical, the commands you'll actually use.
The ones you actually need.
Yeah, and we'll make sure it makes sense even if you're like not a total tech whiz.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So before we get into like the actual commands themselves,
Yeah.
what is Linux? For someone who's like never even seen it before.
Okay, so Linux is a free and open source operating system,
Oh, okay.
meaning it's basically the software that makes your computer go. And the open source part. That means that anyone can look at the code, they can change it, they can share it.
So it's kind of like a community project.
In a way, yeah, it's actually built on this older system called Unix.
I've heard of that.
But the cool thing about Linux is it's like everywhere. You've got servers, desktops, even smartphones are running Linux.
Wow. So we're probably interacting with Linux every day and we don't even know it.
Probably, yeah.
That's crazy. Okay, so Linux is everywhere, but why do we need to learn its commands? Like, can't we just, point and click?
Yeah, you can, but Linux commands give you something different.
Okay.
It's like you have more control. You can do things way more efficiently.
Right.
Imagine you can manage your files, you can get all this information about your system, even automate stuff.
Oh,
Just by typing.
so it's like you're talking directly to the computer.
Basically, yeah.
Okay, that actually sounds kind of cool.
Hmm.
This resource we're looking at has this, like, top 25 list of commands.
Right.
Should I be scared?
No, not at all. You don't need to memorize everything.
Okay.
It's more about understanding the logic, how they all work together. It's like learning a new language.
Okay, so, like, once you know the grammar and a few words, you can kind of start to speak.
Exactly. You can get things done.
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better. So what are some of these, like, essential words, these basic Linux commands?
Well, you can group them into categories like tools in a toolbox, right?
Okay, I like that.
We've got ones for managing files, for checking system info, searching, even downloading stuff.
Okay, let's start with file management, because my computer is like a black hole of files. I need help.
Okay, so one of the most basic commands is ls. It stands for list.
Okay.
And it shows you all the files and directories wherever you are.
So it's kind of like when you open a folder and see what's inside.
Yeah, pretty much. And the cool part is you can use these things called options with else
Okay.
to change how it displays stuff. Like you can see file sizes when they were changed. You can even sort them alphabetically,
So it's like organizing your files.
like having different ways to arrange them. Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
But what about knowing where you are in that mess of files?
Right. So for that, you've got PLWD. That's print working directory. And
Okay.
it basically just tells you where you are in the file system.
It's like a GPS for your computer.
Exactly.
Okay, that's good. So I can see what's around and I
Yeah.
know where I am. But how do I actually, like, make a new folder or move things around?
Okay, so to make a new folder, you use mhdir. It's make directory.
Okay.
Think of it like you're making a new container for your files.
Okay, and if I want to actually, like, go into that folder, what do I do?
You use cd. That means change directory.
Got it.
So if you made a folder called projects, you type cd projects and you're in.
Okay. Makes sense. What about if I want to get rid of a folder? Can I just delete it?
Yeah, you can. That's rmdir remove directory.
Okay.
But there's a little patch. It only works on empty folders.
Oh,
It's a safety feature, so you don't accidentally delete a bunch of stuff.
that's good. I've definitely done that before. Not on Linux, but
Yeah, it happens. So we've got creating folders, moving into them, deleting them. What about the files inside the folders?
yeah, how do we actually work with those?
So for that, we've got a few key commands. You've got treat for copying files.mv for moving them around or even renaming them. And then arm for deleting.
Wait, arm for deleting. That sounds a little final.
It is. You got to be super careful with that one. Once you delete a file with arm, it's gone.
Okay, no takebacks. Got it. So we can create folders, move around, manage files. What about finding out more about our, like, computer itself?
So if you want to know about your system, there's unname.
Unname.
Yeah, it tells you things like what kind of Linux you're running, the kernel version, even the hardware.
So it's like checking your computer specs,
Exactly.
but from the terminal.
Yeah. Now, something that's super useful, especially if you have like a ton of files.
Oh, yeah. I have way too many.
Is the locate command. It searches your whole system for files, and it's really fast.
Okay, so it's like a super search bar.
More than that, it uses this pre-built index, so it's super quick. You can even use these things called wildcards.
Wildcards.
Yeah, so like if you want to find all files that start with report, you could type report, and it'll find all of them.
Wow.
It's really powerful.
That's way better than clicking through a million folders trying to find stuff.
It is. Now, what about making new files?
Yeah, do we have to like open up some text editor?
You don't have to. There's this command called touch.
Touch.
It makes an empty file.
Okay, but why would I want an empty file?
Sometimes you need a file to exist before you put stuff in it. Touch lets you do that quickly.
Okay, that actually makes sense. I know you mentioned something called symbolic links before. What are those?
Okay, so a symbolic link, it's basically a shortcut.
Okay.
It points to another file or a folder. Like, think of those shortcuts on your desktop.
That take you to a program?
Yeah, it's like that. You can access something quickly without clicking through a bunch of folders.
Okay, I'm starting to see how all these little commands can really help you get stuff done faster.
Yeah, it's all about efficiency.
So far, we've talked about making folders, moving them, managing files, even making shortcuts. What about actually seeing what's in a file?
Right. So for that, you use the cat command, short for concatenate.
Concatenate, okay.
It shows you the entire contents of a file right there in the terminal.
Okay. But what if it's like a huge file? Do I just have to scroll forever?
No. If you just want a quick peek at the beginning, you can use head. It shows you the first few lines.
Okay.
And if you want the end, you can use tail.
So you can kind of choose what part you want to see. That's pretty smart.
Yeah. Now, what if your terminal screen just gets way too cluttered? You want to clean it up.
Oh, yeah. It's like my desk. I need a fresh start sometimes.
Right. That's where clear comes in.
Clear.
Yeah, it just wipes the terminal clean.
Okay, that's satisfying. Now, what about seeing, like, what's happening behind the scenes? Like, what programs are running and using up all my computer's brain power?
So for that, you have the EPS command, which stands for processes. It shows you everything that's currently running.
Okay.
You can see how much CPU they're using, memory, even figure out if something's causing problems.
So it's like looking under the hood of your computer?
Yeah, kind of. You get to see what's really going on.
This is getting pretty advanced. I'm starting to feel like a hacker or something.
It's not that hard once you get the hang of it.
Okay, good. But before we get too deep, is there like a lifeline for us if we forget a command or what it does?
There is. It's the man command, short for manual.
Okay.
It gives you help documentation for any command.
So it's like a built-in cheat sheet.
Pretty much. So you can always look stuff up if you get stuck.
Oh, thank goodness. I thought we'd have to memorize all this so we can see files, create them, move them around, get system info. What about actually searching inside those files for something specific?
For that, you use grep. It's really good at searching for patterns in text.
Okay. Like, what if I'm looking for a specific phrase in a code file or something?
Exactly. Grep can find that in, like, seconds.
Wow. That's way better than Create Trouble plus effing my life away.
It is. Now, this
Yeah.
might sound silly, but can you also use the terminal to just, like, write stuff, like make notes?
Oh, yeah, I was wondering about that. Like, can we use it as a notepad?
You can. You use the echo command.
Yeah.
Whatever you type after echo, it just prints it out in the terminal.
Okay, so I could use it for reminders or just to mess around.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, last question before we move on to the really advanced stuff. Can you download files directly from the terminal? Like without even opening a web browser?
It can. That's what Riget is for.
Riget?
Yeah, it's like a super powered download manager. You just give it the website address and it grabs the file.
Wait, so I could download, like, anything?
Well, you could, but you got to be careful.
Oh, yeah.
Only download from sites you trust and watch out for files that could be, dangerous.
Yeah, I've learned that the hard way before.
Okay, good. So we've covered a lot of ground with these basic commands.
We have. But it feels like we're just scratching the surface, right?
We are. There are commands that give you even more control, especially over users and files.
Okay, like what?
Well, you can analyze disk space, sort data, even look at a calendar, all from the terminal.
Wow. I am intrigued.
I thought you might be.
Let's dive into that in our next segment. Okay, so we've learned a bunch of those like core Linux commands.
Yeah, we've got the basics down.
It's like we know the alphabet now, but I'm ready for like full sentences.
I hear you. Time to level up.
Exactly. You mentioned some commands for like really understanding users and file details.
Yeah, those are the ones that give you that deeper insight.
Okay, getting into the nitty-gritty. I'm ready. Where do we start?
How about with figuring out who you are?
Yeah. Okay. getting a little existential here, but I'm sure you mean something technical, right?
Of course. But it's an important concept. The command is wummy.
Wummy.
Yep, simple, right. It tells you the username of the account that's currently logged in,
So it's like a digital name tag.
basically. It's more important than you might think, though. It's tied to security.
Oh, okay.
Not all user accounts have the same permissions, right?
That's true.
So knowing who you are on the system helps you figure out what you can and can't do.
Makes sense. Wouldn't want someone messing with system files if they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
So, WAMI tells us our role, our permissions. What else can we learn about our files?
Well, we talked about seeing what's in them, but sometimes you got to organize the content itself.
Okay, like sorting clothes in a closet.
Perfect analogy. That's where the sort command comes in.
I love to organize, so tell me more. How does sort work?
It takes a file and rearranges the content alphabetically or numerically.
Okay.
And just like with alias, you can use options to change how it sorts. By date, by size, reverse order, all kinds of stuff.
So if I had a file with a jumbled list of names, sort could make it all neat and alphabetized.
Exactly. It's super helpful for making data more readable.
Way easier to find things that way.
No.
Okay, what other commands fall into this user and file details category?
This one's pretty basic, but sometimes basic is best. Imagine you're working and need to check a date, but you don't want to open up a whole calendar app.
Oh yeah, I hate breaking my flow for that.
Right. Well, the Killical command short for calendar is your friend.
Okay.
It pops up a simple calendar right in your terminal.
No need to leave the terminal. I like it.
It's not fancy, but it's perfect for a quick date check.
Love it. Okay, we've got WAMI, sort, and Polical, all helping us understand users and files better. What else?
Remember the symbolic links, the shortcuts we talked about?
Yeah.
Well, sometimes you need to know the actual location of a command, not just the shortcut.
Okay, like knowing the real address even if your GPS uses a nickname for the place.
Exactly. So to find that real location, we use the whereas command.
Whereas. So you give it the command name and it tells you where the real file is.
Precisely. Super handy for troubleshooting or if you're curious about how your system is set up.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so we're really getting to know our system and files. But what about managing resources, like not running out of space or overwhelming my computer?
Ah, good point. No one wants a digital meltdown.
Right.
So for keeping an eye on disk space, we have the df command.
Yeah.
Stands for disk free. It shows you how much space is available on your drives.
Like checking the capacity of my digital storage bins.
Pretty much. Now, what about getting a quick snapshot of a file's contents?
Yeah, besides actually opening it, is there a way to get a summary or something?
There is. We use the BC word count.
Okay.
It tells you lines, words, characters. It's great for quick analysis.
So if I'm writing a paper, I could use that to check my word count without opening the whole document.
You got it. Or for code, or just to get a sense of how big a file is.
DF and WC are going on my must-learn list.
Good choices. They're super useful.
So we've explored a lot of individual commands. But it feels like there's this whole other level waiting to be unlocked, right?
Absolutely. The real magic happens when you start combining these commands.
Ooh, getting fancy.
It's like knowing the notes on a piano, and now we're going to start composing music.
Okay, now I'm really interested. Let's dive into that in our next segment. All right, I'm ready for this music composition level of Linux commands.
You got it. It's where things get really fun.
So we're not just using single commands anymore.
Right. It's about combining them, making them work together.
Okay, I like the sound of that. Give me an example.
Okay, imagine you've got a folder full of text files, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you need to find every file that has a certain phrase in it.
Okay. Yeah.
You could open each file one by one and search, but that would take forever.
Yeah, no thanks.
Right. So remember grep?
The one for searching text.
That's the one. But we can make it even better by using it with another command called find.
Find.
Yeah, it finds files. So we use find to get all the text files, and then we pipe that into grep so it only searches those files for the phrase.
Wait, pipe?
Well,
What's that?
it's like connecting two commands together. The output of one becomes the input of the other.
Okay, so we're chaining commands together to do more complex things.
Exactly. And this is just one example. You can use loops to repeat commands or if statements to make decisions based on certain things.
Okay.
And the ultimate level, that's scripting.
Scripting. Okay. That sounds pretty advanced. Isn't that like programmer stuff?
Not really. It's just writing down a bunch of commands so they can run automatically.
Okay.
Think of it like creating your own custom tools.
Interesting.
And it's not as hard as it sounds.
So like, how do we get started with scripting?
Start simple.
Yeah.
Maybe a script that copies your important files to a backup folder.
Okay. That actually sounds really useful.
Right. And once you have the script, you can run it anytime you need to make a backup.
And what's really cool, you could even schedule it to run automatically.
Exactly. Use something like cronron to make it happen, say, every night.
Wow. So it's like having your own little robot doing stuff for you?
Kind of, yeah.
If I wanted to, like, actually learn scripting, where should I start?
There are tons of resources online, websites, tutorials, whole communities dedicated to scripting.
Okay, that's good to know.
And don't be afraid to just try things out, Start small and you'll get better over time.
That's good advice. You know, I have to say, at the beginning of this deep dive, I was a little intimidated by the command line.
Yeah,
But now, it feels like this superpower,
I get
like I can actually control what my computer does instead of just clicking around.
exactly. That's the whole point. It's about understanding and power.
So as we wrap up this whole deep dive into Linux commands, what's the one thing you want people to take away?
Don't be afraid of the command line. It's a tool and a powerful one. It's a
Mhm.
way to talk to your computer, really understand it, and make it do what you want.
I love that. It's been an awesome journey, honestly. I feel like I've learned so much.
Me too. It's been fun. And to everyone listening, keep learning, keep exploring, and most importantly, don't be afraid to experiment.
Awesome advice. Until next time.